I can't wait to unveil some new things for you. But I just want to start by talking through the year. So the last time we got together in a live setting like this in a customer event was exactly 329 days ago. So every year we tend to do our big playbook event. And a couple years ago, we started building on this Insider Summit for customers of Trainual or people that were much more interested in the software to get a deeper look. And so this year, what we've done is separate that main playbook event with all the external speakers from our Insider Summit, because we wanted to show you everything we've been working on under the hood, behind the scenes for the last year, while we're working toward an even bigger, brand new format of an event in the spring. So more to come on that on the playbook event. But the last time we got together, almost a year ago, about 11 months ago. And I want to start by talking through what our team has been working on for the last year before you see some of the new things that we're rolling out today. So first, this is a glance at our product design and engineering team. Over 50 people full-time for the last year, spending over 100,000 labor hours on the product. And so I know for some of you, you may have bigger companies or smaller companies. For me, wrapping my head around 100,000 hours spent improving the product is a crazy thing. So what have they been working on? What have they been doing all this time? If you've been with us for that last year, what's come to you? What have you seen? Well, our last year in a big way was focused on one thing, and that was speed. And so as we were chasing speed, what we were doing was improving the code, improving the software, and migrating over to a new programming language. This probably doesn't make sense for most of you, so I won't get into the details, but just know that every page in Trainual, every single thing we had built years and years ago in Trainual needed to be built into a modernized platform that moves faster. And to get the benefits of that speed, we need the entirety of the application in this new platform, so that as you click from one thing to the next, there's almost no load time. It's almost imperceptible, and it's just super fast. So as we've been doing that, as our developers, our engineers have been working on the code migration, what you may have noticed is that our feature progress may have feeling like it fell off a cliff. That's not entirely true, but I've gotten a lot of feedback from some of you of, when are you going to build this? When are you going to work on this? And I wanted you to understand that we've been working on so much behind the scenes to modernize this platform. So over the last year, we've spent millions and millions and millions on infrastructure, on the security enhancements, on the scalability of our databases, on people being able to access Trainual from 193 countries, all countries in the world, at least all countries that we're allowed to let them access it from. But in our last report, I saw people trying to hit our servers from every single country in the world, which is pretty cool, but means we need to invest a lot in that infrastructure. And so we have. So we've got this really stable foundation. And over the last year, we've also rolled out a handful of, teasers and surprises and fun things to whet your appetite a little. So let's hit on those really quickly. So first, if you haven't heard, bulk actions is something we came out with earlier in the year. This is if you're managing your users in the user table and you want to assign everyone some content all at once. You want to change someone's permissions all at once. You want to archive or remove people from your account. This is especially useful for those with bigger accounts. And so we enabled some of that functionality. Next, Trainual Capture, which we rolled out at our playbook event last fall, got a whole facelift this spring. And if you haven't used Trainual Capture, it is a browser plugin that you can click to start to capture what you're doing on your screen, not in a video, but with screenshots and text. So with natural language behind the scenes, we can watch what you're doing, what you click on, what you navigate to, how you scroll through the page. And we build out that process as a step-by-step SOP that you can document in Trainual. So if you haven't tried Trainual Capture, go download that, give that a try. It's a great new format for how you can document in Trainual. The next thing we rolled out is our Chrome extension. This got a facelift as well. And the thing that maybe most people don't know about, that's one of my favorite features, it's tucked in there. You can associate any content in your Trainual account with any website, any URL on the entire internet. So let me explain how this works. In your content, if you associate a URL, let's say when you're browsing that URL, you want this Trainual information to pop up. Well, that's what our Chrome extension does. It lets you pair content with anywhere on the internet, whether it's another software application, your own e-commerce site with certain product information. And anytime someone has this installed on your team, this pops up on their browser so that they can see all of the information that they should know behind the scenes. If you haven't played with our Chrome extension, go download that and give that a try. But that came out earlier this year. The next thing, which you may have noticed in our big go-to-market campaign back in March, was the ability to create using AI. So inside Trainual, there's that little compose button. And if you click compose, you can prompt it with a few bullet points and it'll write long form content for you. So if you're not a great writer, or if you're struggling to brainstorm what you should actually describe in a process, you could just give it a few bullet points and say, here's what I want our work from home policy to be. It's 2 days at home. It's 3 days in the office. It's work between these hours. And Trainual will auto create all of that content in long form to insert into your account. So definitely give that a try if you haven't yet. After that, we started building more AI features. And the next thing we did was AI roles and responsibilities. And so if you've built these out in your account, you may have seen that we're auto-populating responsibilities that are likely to be done by certain roles in your business. Because roles and responsibilities are this table of contents, I like to say, to all of your how-to material, they're what comes first in your business. We want it to be very easy to build out roles and responsibilities, and now AI is powering that. Also, if you haven't used our role chart, start playing around with the role chart. It's a little toggle next to org chart inside your account. And what that does will auto-associate different roles with each other based on the positions we think report to other positions. So it's really cool. With a couple clicks, you can auto-build out your whole organization with the roles you have in your business and the reporting structure for all of those roles. And then finally, new reports section. So if you've clicked on reports in your account, you see there's people reports, there's subject reports, there's latest activity. All of this got a design overhaul that enables you to filter by person, by role, by completion score, and really see a detailed deep dive of what each person's doing in your account. So all of this came out over the last year while we were working on that deeper foundation. So for some of you, these things may be new. For others of you, you're saying, yeah, that's old news. I know about that stuff. Move on. So I just want you to know this has been a big investment for us in the structure, stability, foundation of the application. And coming from here on, we're going to be moving fast and furious. So you will see things come out by the end of this year that we're not even talking about right now. Some of the things I'm going to unveil to you feel old to me because we've been looking at them for 9 or 12 months. And the things that are coming soon are going to blow your mind. So just know a lot is coming down the pipeline. We're really excited about our roadmap. But let's get started first by talking about our bread and butter, Trainual's bread and butter. And by that, I mean our core product. So documentation and training. Documentation and training. When I started this whole thing, it was training and a manual. It was the idea that you document the knowledge in your business in a manual and you create an experience of teaching that to other people through your training. That's where Trainual came from. And this has always been the foundation of what we've done. So let's talk about how you document in Trainual. Well, back in 2015, when I first launched the business, it was just me. And I designed this little editor, this really simple tool for my consulting clients at the time. This is what it looked like. So you can see along the left-hand side, it's got your steps, you know what subject or topic you're in, and then you've got the content editor there on the right. Pretty simple editor. It used to frustrate the heck out of our engineers that this little thing was on the second line. So I know if any of them are watching, they're cringing right now remembering this. But this is what it looked like at the very beginning. So now fast forward 8 years to present, and this is what it looks like today. Largely the same. So I'm going to go back and forth because you'll see the layout's the same. You know, there's a few different things. Of course, we've got time estimates, or we've got statuses now. There's some more sharing functionality. You can go from admin mode to edit mode to view mode, but it's largely the same, even down to this little thumbs up emoji. You can see the thumbs up looking great. There's still a thumbs up and a looking great there. It's a throwback to those early days. But I know a lot of you have had some troubles with the editor. I know it can load slowly when you've got a ton of content. There can be some formatting issues with bullet points and other things. And so if you've written into our support team about the editor over the last few months or the last year, just know we have been working so hard to entirely reimagine and rebuild this experience. And so I'm really excited to unveil to you our brand new editor. So let's talk through this editor. Now, everything that I show to you today, Taylor, our director of product, is going to walk through just after me to give you a deep dive, and you can actually see the features live in action. But right now, I'm just going to show you some screenshots and some high-level overviews of what's special about this that we're launching. All right, so our new editor, first of all, it has a brand new modern feel. It looks and feels a lot different than our old editor. It's fast, it's snappy, just like that React technology we've been using elsewhere in the application. This is a huge piece, one of the final blocks of having that application entirely in this new language. We've been working on it for a while. You notice there's this single page view, so it's really an immersive experience, more so like a Google Docs or a Word doc view that you've been editing, and a little bit less like a blog post or something in a comment box that you'd use elsewhere on the internet. So a really beautiful, simple, single page format. Across the top, you've got this formatting ribbon, which again is much larger. If you toggle over to this insert tab, you'll see all the different types of media that you can put into Trainual, including that AI creation, that compose functionality. You'll get to see that live here in a second. And if you run an organization that has engineers that does actual programming or code, we've got a new code view. So you can put all of that information in Trainual, which you've never been able to do before. But the real news here is that for the last year, we've been working to migrate into this editor, to migrate into a faster, better experience of this editor, to be the foundation for everything else that's coming. And so what we'll be doing over the next few weeks to month while we roll this out to you is migrating those millions and millions and millions of policies and processes and documentation content that you've all created into this new, beautiful editor experience. And I know you're all going to love it because we've been playing with it internally for a while now. So our new editor is the big announcement that's coming soon. You'll see that in September. All right. So as you go through and edit your content, you've got some beautiful content you've made, step-by-step processes or policies. Now, how do you organize that material? So you may recognize this. This is the sidebar in our application. And across the side, we've got 3 places where you may go to build your content. We have the company section, which is really for your culture, your story, your overview. It's where you would describe your products and services. It's where you talk about your key personas and who you target market to. It's all the things someone would need to know if they're just joining your business. So that's your company section. We've got your policies, which are really your rules of engagement, your rules of operation. This is like your social media policy, your time off policies, your benefits, all those things that you decide how to run the business. And then we've got your processes. These are your how-tos, your step-by-step SOPs and sequences. So all of the content people put in Trainual tends to fall into one of these couple buckets. And we built these sections out a few years ago to help especially new customers know what to create in Trainual. And so these sectors, we call them, were built because we wanted to nudge people in the direction of documenting these different things about your business. Whereas a lot of other tools are just kind of a blank page experience. You have to go there and figure out, what do I want to write? And so we wanted to prompt you with what you should actually start writing about your business. But the downside of this is for existing people, customers that are already up and running like you in Trainual, you start to think, where does this go? Where do I go to find this? Is this thing in policies? Is this in processes? And it's difficult to manage, especially as you get bigger. So what we've done is reimagined this, re-envisioned this, and come up with a brand new content library. Another thing that you'll see in your accounts next month. So let me talk through the content library. First, all of the sectors have been consolidated. So that means your company, policies, and processes are all within this library. It's a simpler navigation, but it's easy to find things. And there's this all content section where if you just want to dump everything in there and get started, you can do that. If you want to go into these unique sections and filter down your content, you can do that too. Next, we've got a lot of new functionality for searching, filtering, and grouping your content. I'll touch more on that later because we've got a new thing we're rolling out that's going to impact this. But it's much, much easier to just navigate all your material and see exactly what you want to see, whether it's your material or that for someone else on this page. You've got access queues. That means, why do you have access to this particular content? It shows you right in line that you've got edit view access, that you were assigned this material, so you can see a little bit of information. It shows you when it was last updated, which if you've heard me speak or read my book, you know is very important to keeping your playbook updated. So that information is front and center. And then we've got on-page actions to be able to assign this material straight from here without going any deeper. So it's going to be, again, a much faster, a much more organized and enjoyable experience, and everything's consolidated into this content library. Now, one of the other criticisms we've heard in the past is when we rolled out those few sectors, company policies and processes, it became hard to structure the order that you wanted your new people to go through training. So I'm excited to introduce to you training order. So you'll be able to set training order across those sectors. Finally, we've all been wanting this. So all of that information, all of those subjects in your account, you'll be able to pop up this new page and decide what order they go in. And so as someone joins your business and you want to create that perfect experience, this is where you'll do that. This is where you can create those customized training paths. And this is just the beginning. And so a little wink that, we're working on this, we're improving this. And if you have any specific requests or information on training paths and how you want that to work in your business, let us know, because we've got more to come here. All right. So that is our bread and butter. That is the content section. Let's move into the next section of this presentation. Any guesses on what this stands for? You can maybe put them in the chat here. I'll just go ahead and show you, because we call this people and content, the connection between people and content. Or another way to say this is assignment and access. It's really about who has what information in your business, because even without Trainual, if you're using a paper manual to document all of your SOPs, you're thinking about who needs to know what information in my business, right? Think about it like this. Think about it like these spheres of influence, or these different circles of influence. So there's some information in your company that needs to know by everyone in the business. Or if you've got multiple locations, maybe it's by location in the business. This store does things this way, or this store does things, maybe this city or this country, if you have different policies. So some knowledge is location specific. Other knowledge is department specific. Maybe everyone in a certain department uses a specific software tool, or everyone in a certain department has certain department meetings or follows some cadence of how they roll out projects. So some knowledge is department specific. Some knowledge is team specific. And this could be your functional teams, or it could be something like a people management team. Everyone that's a people manager needs to know this content about how to do reviews or how to do interviews. Then you've got some content that is role specific. So everyone that's in this technical role needs to know how to use this tool or how to do this SOP. And finally, you've got content that's person specific. And so in Trainual, you've always been able to assign to a person, and you've been able to assign to a role, but it's really about, who needs to know what in your business. That's what this is all about. And so again, I'm going to take you back. This is 2016, again, when this was the Chris Ronzio design company and a team of one creating this product. I introduced roles as a really simple checkbox thing, because I knew in my consulting businesses that people want to roll out content that's specific to a role in the business. As you're building your accountability charts, you want to do training on a role-by-role basis. And so roles has been around since 2015, 7 years that roles has been around. Now, in 2021, if you were with us then, we introduced a huge update to the system, which was our people section. What we saw is that people want to create content about the roles. They want to teach about the roles, and they want to teach about your people, your coworkers, whether it's the leaders or the people on the team that you'll be working with. So we introduced this people section here and created that directory, created that org chart, and that was a beta thing we launched in 2021. In 2022, we took another leap forward with your role chart. So in many of your businesses, you may have people that sit in multiple seats or wear multiple hats. And so building out this whole roles section and creating a role chart helped you visualize which hats people are wearing. And so all of this has been in service of trying to connect people to the permissions and the roles that they have in your business. But over the last year, we realized we weren't quite there. We weren't quite nailing this. And so we had two teams, two squads. One was in charge of content and one was in charge of the people section. And we got them all together and said, why are we two different teams? We need to think about this as one unified solution. How should people and content work together in Trainual? So I'm excited to introduce to you our next evolution of this people section and of roles, and it's called groups. So very simple. Across the top, you can see all the different group types. So now in your organization, you can define those locations, departments, teams, roles, and any other grouping mechanisms that you have in your business. Then you can assign people and content to those different groups. You can create descriptions. And so if you want to create a little training content about what does this department do, or what is this team for in the business, now you have a place to just fill that out. And we'll be using our AI tools to help prompt you and fill those buckets for you. You can also add responsibilities to every single group in Trainual. So roles, of course, have responsibilities, but so do groups, so do teams. As a leadership team member, I have certain responsibilities to prepare for and attend strategic planning, to participate in certain meetings, to present at company all hands, and identifying and training that content can be associated to the team and not just associated to every single role in your business that needs to do that thing. So responsibilities are going to be powerful. Now, it's not just about creating groups. You saw a little teaser there. It's about sharing to groups. And so all of this is going to connect through this new groups experience will connect through the whole platform. And it starts with sharing. And so all of your group types will be groups that you can share to. So now I could assign content to a team. I could assign content to a location. You may have a handbook that's specific to people in one state or in one country, and another handbook specific to those in other places. You may have different processes or different instructions like parking or your alarm system between two locations. And now you can just determine and distinguish all of that content and the association to the different groups in your business. So really exciting. The next thing here, I want to draw your attention down the middle to this little toggle for assigned and not assigned. So there's a difference in our business between wanting someone to have access to something for visibility or wanting to actually train them, to track their completion, to assign it, to remind them until it's complete. And I know personally in Trainual, I've been given access to a lot of material that other people need to complete for training, but that I, as a CEO, don't need to go through the training because I invented the process, right? I came up with it. And so now you can distinguish on a group by group, team by team, location by location, role by role, person by person basis. Does this person, team, location, group, or other have access? Or do I actually want to track completion and prompt them until they go through and get to 100% on this thing? So very cool. And then also you'll see that each of these has a different permission set. So you can assign permissions to say this person has edit access to this content or has full ownership access to this content, whereas this other person or this other group only has view access. So this is a huge step forward in terms of how you can assign and associate content in Trainual. And again, it's been a work in progress for a while, so I know you're going to love it. Now, a couple other things. Groups, this new introduction of groups permeates everything across Trainual. Such a big part of Trainual in your playbook is who does what, who needs to know what, and how do we do things. And so the next couple places that you'll see groups pop up is first in your directory. You'll see options to sort and filter your directory by these different groups. So if you want to see all the people in one location or all the people with a certain role, you can do that at a very quick glance. And then, probably most importantly, you'll be able to build your content library out by any of these groups. So if you've been using Trainual for a while, we have collections, which are kind of like folders that you can put content into. And for a long time, people have asked us to assign by collection. And that felt like kind of a short-sighted way to be able to associate the content to the group mechanism, right? And so it felt crazy to us that people were building their groups and their teams in the people section, and they're building out their departments and their org chart. And then yet in the content section, they're recreating those departments into collections. And so now with the introduction of groups, all of this is automatic, parallel, done for you in both places. So if you have information that goes to a certain role, goes to a certain team or department, just by assigning or giving access to those people, you can now browse your content by those groups in the content library. So another big leap forward in terms of the structure, the integration, the integrity of the platform. All right. The last section that I'm going to roll out to all of you right here. Again, you can guess what the emojis mean, but find and centralize. So really, it's everything in one place, everything from Trainual in one place. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to gather all of your business information, whether it's with Trainual Capture or our screen recording tools and integrations. We want all of your business knowledge to be accessible in one place, centralized, and easy to find so you can get the answers that you need. So I remember back in, I think it was 2013. Yeah, it says 2013 here. I was at the TED conference, and I heard this speech, and it was about schools. And I heard this talk by Sugata Mitra, and he said, could it be that we're heading toward, or maybe in a future where knowing is obsolete? Think about that, where knowing things is obsolete. Now, we've seen this unfold in a couple different ways. So first, think about when you first got on the internet. Maybe you had dial-up and logged in through AOL, something like that. There were portals to get to your content, and then we started bookmarking everything. We started putting everything in folders. But now we just search for the website. Whether you've been there 1,000 times or not, you just search for what you're looking for or what you're thinking about, and you get to that answer very quickly. And this happens in email too. In email, if any of you used folders, I'm sure back in the day, maybe some of you still do, it's so easy now to just search for that email and manage an archive of hundreds of thousands of emails because you can search for something at your fingertips. But even this behavior is changing. Even search is changing a little bit. So of course, this year, ChatGPT made a huge splash where you can just ask for the answers that you want, and it delivers these answers. Or for years, you may have used the tools like Google Home and Alexa and Siri to ask questions that you get answers to. So, very excited to finally announce that Trainual is rolling out the same kind of functionality. So, meet our new search. This is an AI-powered search where you can ask Trainual any question. And what it does is, based on the question you ask it, it gives you a natural language answer. You can ask and type your question into the browser, and it'll just return the answer instead of just returning the results, the matching pages. Now, why is this so powerful? If you are working in an office, you probably get asked a lot of questions from people. They slide over and ask you a question. Well, if any of that information is already in Trainual, now they can just ask Trainual questions about your business, about their role, and that insight, that information, that answer pops up immediately for them. You'll also get any relevant results there at the bottom. It is permission-based, which means that they will only get the answers that is found within the content that they have access to. So again, this goes back to the groups, the structure of your business. And we're going to keep building on this. So like I've said to kind of everything here, more to come, but the quick TLDR here is you can ask Trainual and get the answers that you want. Now, what about for information that's outside of Trainual? What about for things that you haven't yet brought into Trainual? Maybe you've got Google Docs or you've got documents, Word docs. Well, the first thing that we're announcing here is now an ability to import material into Trainual, import those documents straight into Trainual. And so this will start with Word and Google Docs. If you have any of these in your business today, all you do is select them, drag and drop them into the folder here, and it will natively parse them and put them into where they need to go in Trainual. This is all, again, native Trainual content. It's all searchable, and you'll get to see a demo of that as soon as Taylor walks through it here in a second. So ask and import, that search functionality, the import functionality, available now inside your account. So play around with it when you have a break. When we finish up this event, you can try that out in your account. Those two are available now. The rest of it will be coming in September. And so to walk us through this, Taylor Sell, our director of product, is going to come on and give you a demo of this functionality.
I'm excited to be here to kind of walk you through everything that Chris just announced. We have a ton to honestly go through, so let's just go ahead and dive right in. I want to walk through all these different features, but make it a real world scenario. So hypothetical situation here, what we're going to do is I have a new location that just opened up. It's a new warehouse, and that warehouse just had a new alarm system installed into it. So I need to build out some processes on how that alarm system will work, and then obviously distribute that out to different members of my team so they know how this new process will ultimately work. So we're here in our processes page. The tried and true sector. There's not a ton different here, but luckily for me, the alarm system, the company that installed that, they gave me some materials that I want to actually use and build my SOP off of. So how we're going to do that is use the doc importer. Now, there's a couple of ways we can obviously do that. The first way is going to be through the universal add here in the top right-hand corner. So all your different create options will now be available here, and you can see import document. In addition to that, anywhere that has create subject, there is going to be a split button here that I can click, and then I'll also see import document here. To take a quick look at what the document is currently looking like, I'll pull up my Google Doc here. And you can see the overview of everything we're going to be covering. You can see the location of the different alarm systems, as well as how to access the panel, images, graphs, graphics, I should say, emojis, formatting, all the fun stuff. So this is what we're going to try and get into Trainual and fast track how I can get this into my team's hand that much faster. So let's go ahead and import the document. I'll go through the split button here. I will choose the file, and we'll grab our document. So as Chris mentioned a little bit earlier, the two different types of files that we now support is Google Docs and Word Docs, but we are hard at work at introducing PDFs in the upcoming weeks here. So you choose a different location here. In this case, it is a how-to, it's an SOP. So I'll put this into our processes section, and I'll click next here. So at this point, this is where kind of all the hard work is happening. Chris alluded to this a little bit earlier. But essentially what we're doing at this point is we're looking at the document, we're seeing how it was written, and we're trying to break it down into bite-sized pieces of information so that your team can, one, retain that information, and you can keep them accountable as they obviously progress through the different training materials here. You'll see the importing experience here. We are kind of slowly working our way through this right now. But one of the nice things, while the doc is importing in the background, you can actually go and do anything else in the application. So if you want to go work on another subject, or you want to go update somebody's role, all of that can be done while the doc importer is working behind the scenes. And voila, I think it was, about 15, 20 seconds there. And for context, we just imported a 9-page document in just a matter of seconds here. So I see the toast notification that it was successfully imported. So obviously I can interact with that. And I also have that view option there right where the import is happening. So I'll click into view, and we can see how the document was broken down. So obviously this is our new subject page. It pulled in the title of the subject, which is fantastic, as well as the different topics here. So I can see the overview, all the different steps underneath that. I can see the location, how to access the panel, and then also troubleshooting tips. Now, I could click into this and we could actually see how the document importer parsed it out, but I have a better idea. Let's actually do that through the new content library experience and also test out the new editor, because I want to make a couple tweaks before I share this with my team. So let's jump over now to the content library. As Chris mentioned earlier, it's the dedicated place for all of your company, policies, and processes. All the need to knows about your business are now located in one single location. I've got quick access to some relevant filters, like filtering by company, policies, and processes. And if you notice how fast the application is, we can filter the page in a matter of mere seconds. In addition to that, I'll be able to filter and search to find the information that I need access to. And one of the really cool things that we'll allude to a little bit is I can view the content library by different types of groups. So if I want to organize all of my content by roles or different locations, I can start answering questions like, What does the sales executive role have access to? What does the product management role have access to? And I can see all of that content directly from the content library. Now, I don't have it wired up, but in the top right-hand corner is the set training order that Chris was alluding to. But just to kind of recap what this will be, this is going to go out in our September release, but you'll be able to set the logical order in which your team and new hires consume content within Trainual. Now, we're just scratching the surface, so there's so much we want to build on top of this. So obviously your feedback is super, super important. So if anything comes up, you have any feedback on how we can make this experience better, please send it over to us. We'd love to work with you to continue to build on this feature. Now, I'll draw your kind of attention down to some of the content that we have below. We are surfacing new data to kind of help you do your job better in the content library. So what I mean by that is let's jump down here to our founding story and company history. Right below that title, you'll see something that says edit access. So whoever you are coming into the Trainual system, before you interact with the subject, you'll know exactly what level of access you have to this individual subject. So if I can view it, I'll know, hey, I'm just there to consume it and get up to 100%, or just access the information. If I have edit access like I do here, I can make changes, I can make suggestions, or I could have full control and basically update anything about the actual subject. So giving you more granular control and visibility into what you ultimately have access to. I can see if the content is published or unpublished, as well as the last time it was updated. So if things are starting to get stale or it hasn't been updated in a while, I can see that from a glance here and go into that content and update it accordingly. On the right side, I can see the type of content like company, as well as I can also assign directly from the content library as well. So if I want to change who has access or assign different groups to that, I can do that inline here without having to dive deep into an individual subject. And then last but not least is the subject matter expert, the subject owner. You can see who is the person that's owning this subject and who is updating and maintaining it. So I kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier, but obviously we imported our document and we have a job to get done. We have to go in there, see how it imported, and I want to make a couple of tweaks to that. So let's go ahead and do that now. So a couple ways I can do that. I'll click processes, and then what we'll do is we'll search by alarm. And I can see I have my warehouse alarm system here. I'll expand this. I do want to add a diagram to the location so people have a diagram of the warehouse and they know where the different terminals are within there. So I'll click into that now. And that's going to take us to our brand new editor. So that was pretty quick there, but essentially what we just did is we jumped in to the topic location of the warehouse alarm. And you can start to see the two different steps underneath that and how Trainual parsed that Google Doc and added the content directly here in our brand new editor. Before we get into some of the editing capabilities, I want to draw your attention to the left. So I already alluded to that we are in the location of the warehouse alarm. That is our topic. And then underneath that, I still have my step outline. So I can see all the steps. I can create new steps from here. I also have different editing capabilities and access to all the things you've become accustomed to now in the new editor. In addition to that, I can see the different statuses as well as the different mode that I'm in. So I'm currently in editing mode. We'll get to viewing here in a little bit, but I can see exactly what I should be doing in this actual document here. Now, as far as editing capabilities, I'll draw your attention to the top of the screen here. You'll now see this new formatting bar that gives you all the good stuff, all the stuff that you need to create content. So your formatting, your bold, italic, underlining, links, alignments, all of that is now accessible directly in this top bar here. Chris did allude to this as well. We do now have code view as well. So if you want to put in code into Trainual, you could also do that. So if you want to say, here's best practices on how to write SQL queries, or you have best practices on the engineering side as far as code quality, you can now document all of that directly in the new editor and make sure your team has access to the information that they ultimately need. Now I'll toggle over here to the insert option, and this is where all the rich media lives. So all the things you become accustomed to, like your hundreds of embed options from different third parties, you still have access to that. You can record engaging Loom videos from this insert option, videos, images, links. You can add Trainual content to different steps, as well as add tables, and also use our new Compose AI feature to create content on your behalf, right? So that's kind of the new editor at a high level here, but let's go actually build some content and create a couple of new things here. So really happy with how the content came over. It obviously ported over, but I just have some text here. So I want to liven this up a little bit. So what I'm going to do first thing, let's go add some emojis here, because who doesn't love emojis? One place is in the lounge. We'll throw a couch there. We'll come over here and our front door. So we'll get that added. And now I want to insert, let's say, some new media here. So we'll insert a GIF. And we'll say alarm. Perfect. So I got my GIF in here. I can change some of the formatting around a little bit. I have my different editing options here, and I can obviously resize to have the proper GIF in there. So feeling pretty good about this step. Let's go and create a new step. So easy way to do that is clicking the new step option over here to the left, and I'll just type in location of the alarm panel because I want to go and upload that diagram. From here, what I'll end up doing is I'll just say, outlined below is the map to the panels. And this is obviously important, so we'll beef this up a little bit here. We'll center it. All right, feeling pretty good about that, but let's go and insert the image. So I'll come over here and grab my image from the desktop here. I can see a preview of it, so I know exactly what it's going to look like, and I'll go and add that in to the step. Do a quick resize. All right, I'm starting to feel pretty good about how this is showing up here. We'll add our emoji to kind of keep it consistent. Perfect. All right, my content's kind of coming to life here. I feel pretty good about where we're currently at. I do also want to look at a couple other steps here. So I'll navigate down towards the bottom and click next topic. So now we've jumped to the next topic here. And I can see from my original document, all the formatting images have been pulled over. Even the emojis has persisted through that actual doc import. So I'm feeling really good about the content that we have right now. So at this point, I want to do one final check. And what we're going to do is view what our team is going to be looking at. So I'll come over here to editing mode, jump into viewing. And this is the exact experience that my team will be going through, the new location will be going through. And I'm feeling really great about where the content is currently at. So now that I'm done with the content, what I'm going to do is jump back into editing mode. And I'm going to exit out of the editor here. So the easy way of doing that in the top right-hand corner is returning back to the subject. So we'll do that really quickly. Now that I've landed here, the big thing I have to do is obviously go and share the content. You'll notice there's that big CTA or button that says share. But before I go and do that, I want to create a new location in Trainual to make sure that they will have access to the alarm system subject. So let's go ahead and do that now. I'm going to jump over to the groups experience here. So now we've entered into groups. So Chris did mention this a little bit earlier. This is the evolution of roles. So if you have roles and teams already created in Trainual, you do not have to worry. Those will map one-to-one to groups. You won't have to do any lifting whatsoever there. All of that's going to be automatically built out in the groups experience when it launches later in September. There are 5 different types of groups: roles, teams, departments, locations, and then custom. So if you want to get a little bit crazy and create something custom, you can definitely do that. You can see I have a new hire committee here, as well as a party planning committee. Who doesn't need a party planning committee? Everyone needs that. So we've got that into the system here. But your roles has kind of gotten a facelift. So let's kind of dig into an existing role so you can see some of the changes that are happening there. So let's go grab our sales executive here. I'll jump in that, and a group consists of 3 different components. So the members or people, the content, and then obviously the responsibilities in order for that person to be able to do that role effectively. And so that's kind of the 3 different components that makes up a group or a role in this situation. I can see Drew and Kate are currently our sales executives. I can see exactly who they report to, and I can see how they're making progress towards all the content that's been associated with the role sales executive. If I toggle over here to content, I can see all of the content, the current status, the last time it was updated, and then how my team is progressing towards each of those individual subjects. So more granular access and understanding of how people are performing based on the groups that they're actually in. And then obviously the responsibilities. So what do they need to do their job effectively, and linked out helpful resources to make sure they can know what's going on, be able to execute towards that, and ultimately the business wins in the long run there. Okay, so now that we kind of went over just the roles experience, what we want to do is actually create a brand new location. So I've got my location tab here. I've got 2 locations already in Trainual. Let's go ahead and create a third one. So I'm going to come in here, click location, hit next. And our new warehouse is located in Scottsdale, Arizona. I can go and create multiple groups from this experience, but for this case, we're just going to do the Scottsdale one. It immediately takes me in to the new group that I created. For now, I need to go and add some new members. So let's go and add some people in here. I got Blake, Drew, John, Kelly, Seth, Ananias, and Susan are all going to be part of the Scottsdale, Arizona location. I've now added them in. I can obviously associate content directly from this group's experience and associate responsibilities as well. But what I want to do is actually jump back to that subject that we just created and actually go and assign it directly from that experience. Let's go and do that really quickly here. All right, I've jumped back to the warehouse alarm system. I'm feeling really great about the content. I've got my new group configured, and now it's time to distribute out the content to different groups and different individuals within my organization. So I'll click the share option here, and that's going to open up the brand new share content experience. So whether I'm assigning to an individual, one of the groups I just created, or I'm making the subject public to anybody who has the link, all of that is now done through the share content experience. So let's go in here and I'm going to add a couple people. I need to add Alexander because he is our head of operations. Obviously, the warehouse team needs to know this process as well. So I'll go add the warehouse team. It makes up our technicians as well as our warehouse supervisor. And then I just created that Scottsdale location as well. So although they may not be opening and closing the warehouse and arming or disarming the alarm system, in the event they get into a situation where they're like, hey, the alarm's going off, or I showed up early one day, or I'm working late, they may need to have access to this information. So I want to make sure it's available to all of the people that'll be working out of our Scottsdale storefront. So in this case, I do want to make sure that Alexander, as well as our warehouse team, are accountable and get to 100%. I need to make sure that they know this and that they've consumed this information directly in Trainual. I am not going to assign the Scottsdale AZ team or location, I should say, because like I said, they just need to access it, but I do not need them to get to 100%. And now we'll also go and change some of the content access controls as well. So Alexander has full access because he's an admin within our system, but I do want to make sure our warehouse team is able to make suggestions. So they're the ones that are opening and closing using the alarm system process day in and day out. So if they have recommendations on how to make this better, I want to make sure that they can add those recommendations and either let myself or Alexander review and approve those to make our operating procedures that much more efficient. So we'll go ahead and give them edit access. All right, at this point, we're essentially done. So we're going to go save it in here. And we've now given that access out to that individual, that new location, and the new team directly within Trainual. The last thing to do here is, let's say that new hire or somebody in the warehouse shows up on site and they're like, hey, I tripped the alarm by accident. I don't remember where the location is. Let's use Trainual's AI-powered search to actually go and have that question answered. So where are the alarm systems located in the warehouse? Now, why this is kind of pulling information up, essentially at this point, what we're doing is we're actually reading through all of the content that's within Trainual, and we're answering that question as succinctly and as direct as we possibly can. So Trainual came back and said the alarm systems are located near the lounge area and main entrance of the warehouse. Nailed both of them. It maps to the diagram, maps to the content that we imported through that Google Doc. And now I get the answer to know where exactly the alarm systems are, and I can go about doing my job here at Trainual and obviously in our new warehouse. So that's everything as far as what's coming live. Your AI search is now available in your system, as well as the document importer. But some of the other things that we talked about will be coming out in our later September release. But that's everything. So thanks everyone for engaging and chiming in the chat. It was great to run through this, and I can't wait for all of you to start using this very, very soon. And with that, I will hand it back to Chris.
Search, import, those are updated in your account. If you're not seeing it yet in your account, just refresh it or know that it's rolling out to thousands and thousands of customers right now. And so it may take a few seconds to show up in your actual account, but play around with that. Let us know what you think. We're also seeing a lot of questions and ideas coming in through the Q&A. So continue to use the Q&A. If you have questions, we'll answer everything in there and you'll get the answers sent directly to you. So thank you everyone for tuning in for this. This has been really exciting. I saw one comment that was like, I tune in for this once a year to change my life. And it's so cool to think that the things that we're working so hard on make an impact for you and your job and your business. That's why we do this. And so keep the ideas coming, because we're going to keep making this product better. And like I shared at the beginning of this presentation, so much of the 100,000 hours we spent over the last year was dedicated to this stable foundation, this new connection between content and people, this new editor, and the underlying structure of how our product is built. And so just get ready for all of the cool things that are coming, because the pace is picking up. So with that, Jonathan, you want to come back up and take on this next section?
Oh my goodness. Riding high on the comments here. The thread has just been amazing. I saw people just going nuts over the new content editor, over the search, over the assign versus access, just so much cool new stuff. So amazing job to you, to Taylor, to the whole team that is bringing this to life. Glad that it is resonating and glad that you all out there loved what you saw. So we're excited to get this in your hands.
All right, cool. I'll be back on later. See y'all.